All right, so let's get ready for our next discussion. I would like to start our next speaker, with the topic, blockchain will change how businesses function. Let's welcome our speaker, Anndy Lian, Chief Digital Advisor, Mongolian Productivity Organization. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Testing. Hi, a very good afternoon to a lot of you out here. So my name is Anndy Lian. I'm the Chief Digital Advisor to Mongolia. But if you look at what I do online, I hold various other positions. I'm the chairman of a BigONE exchange, top 50 globally on the spot market. I'm also a investor. I put my own money into different projects from Web3 to exchanges, to even GameFi projects. So maybe a little bit more background since I have 20 minutes. My slides are maybe only 20 slides. I better speak a bit more. Apart from that, I was actually the blockchain advisor to an intergovernmental organization. So I give advice to 22 countries. I was also the advisor and part of the board for Hyundai, the blockchain arm for Hyundai. So this is where I am, and I'm going to talk about NFTs. I have nothing to sell. I don't have a project. I'm just here to share. Very much of a sharing session. I started to look at NFTs, when I first crafted my first book that was published in Korea, South Korea. And it was one of the bestsellers. We were talking about NFTs and how NFTs are going to change things. Back then, most people would think that, hey, what's NFTs? We just look at FTs. FTs gives you the liquidity. FTs give you a lot of different good upsides as compared to things that is just one of its kind. So things like this, did pop up during the first book that I was writing. And when the organizer came to me, I was thinking, should I talk about businesses, or should I talk about NFTs, or should I be more specific? So I decided to talk about, implementing NFTs, onto your businesses. And that is also part of the title or part of the concept of my next book. So I just go quickly. Yeah? So this is something that is very familiar to many of you. CryptoPunks netted more than 250 mil. You look at a lot of mass adoption right now. Big brands, social media brands, like Twitter, Reddit, Instagram. They are all adopting and trying to use NFTs in their own rights, right? And then bigger brands like Adidas, they are also trying to build their own ecosystem around these NFTs, and they allocated very good budget. So I always tell my friends here, if you want some form of good collaboration, you want some good investment or some good partnerships, these are some really good traditional companies that you can really work with. They give you credibility, they give you a lot of other things apart from just one simple NFT concept. There are a lot of skeptics. People are talking about NFTs. What can it do? What is the value behind it? But my take today is NFTs are always here to stay. There is a position for them in our history of cryptocurrency, and both big and large, small, medium companies, they are all embarking onto this technology. How they could improvise their current business model with NFT and together with NFT. Whether they have tokens or not, that's a separate matter. So I look at it this way, yeah. So there are a few things that I really want to talk about. One would be, generate out your own revenue, using NFT as a form of giveaway. That has been successfully done, within our sector. It has successfully helped a lot of other companies or other meme companies or other blockchain companies using NFTs as a form of incentive. And then again, the second point that I want to bring up is, it also creates a smaller new wave for Web3. And when I say Web3, there's a big portion of Web3, but I do see them very specifically and very clearly in the metaverses and some of the games that we enjoy right now. So some real business case to really consider. One would be Facebook, Meta. They have been spending a lot on AR, VR, hardware development, and a lot of other metaverse tools that can enable everyone to be connected. And then, of course, we have another use case about AMC, where they, look at a significant customer spending using crypto and then using NFTs. So the early comparison that we have always been talking about would be, how you compare the early days of internet versus currently. At the very beginning, of this whole journey, we have big venture companies that we talk to, and then they say NFT top shots is not going to work. But the valuation as of last year is about 7.5 billion. Now we have lesser people talking about it, but in the States and in the basketball community, it is still one of the very big things that we still look forward to, the new cards and the new images and so forth. So NBA, they use that to engage with the younger selection of audiences, fans, and so forth. And then if you look at another platform, So Rare, and they use that as a platform to interact with these football trading cards and so forth. So all these things can only be present and only be successful because of the good community behind it. And these kind of use cases will go a long way because they feel the connection between the game, they feel the connections between themselves and the game and the players. So communities will form, they stay together, they help to, build more communities in different areas and so forth. That's how NFTs, gaming communities, for example, they use the guilds to build their community. This is how things are going to work. And then in the longer term, there will be all these loyalty programs. Very straightforward, reward your customers with NFTs and without NFTs, and there's a form of redemption that's going on, right? Again, all these programs do not need to be cryptalized or tokenized. It is a very simple model, very easy step for the traditional businesses to understand what exactly NFT is all about. So again, some characteristics, to really share. A lot of communities are undoxed. They just use pictures. They just use Discord. They just use Telegram to interact. You do not really know who they are. And then how does that work in a community like this? It depends on what you're chatting about, your conversation, your merits within the community. They will reward you with different things. It could be a white list. It could be you could be able to access to different programs, that they introduce in a later stage. So these are some of the things that we often see, in the market. And people who are not in this space will think that this is crazy. People are not dogs. We don't know who they are and so forth. So this is an overview that I have come up with, and I will touch on them separately. So first of all, you will see NFTs in asset and commodities. A lot of physical goods, they can use the NFTs tag onto the ear, for example, for a cattle, for tracking, traceability function. And then it can also be used on the supply chain to prevent, leakages of fake products or non-genuine products and so forth. So NFT is not just about pictures that you see. There's a real good function behind it as well. We will see a lot of different adoption, as you can see, very briefly in point form on the slides. We could also see things like maybe diamonds linked with NFTs. When we talk about the laser engraved numbers, serial, and so forth, all these things can be seen, and it's already happening in the space. Investments, we do see things that are fractionalized, investments in asset, and things got really creative, in this current state. Many of these projects, they hide things like security products under NFTs. Is it legal? Of course, in my humble opinion, it's not legal. But you do see things like this in the investment space. And then if you look at the licenses and so forth, it helps, to remove all those paper licenses if you use NFTs. I was talking to the government in Thailand about these housing deeds using NFTs. That is something that is really cool. That's something that is doable, right? And it's not something that the government would think that this is just another crypto project and so forth. There's real usability behind it. So licenses, certificates, these are some of the things that really can be done. And of course, some of us, the natives, we will understand this a lot better. Like the very first commercial use case, which is CryptoKitties. They did fairly well. We have Zed Run, and then we have our Gochi NFTs as well. All these things have their own position. They have their own space, and they have their own followings. And again, coming back to the Gochi NFT back in games, they have been doing well. They've been pushing very hard. And similarly for a lot of other games and so forth, going back to NBA Top Shots, Eternity, these are all things that are doable. We have things like Eternity. We're talking about real world items. Limited edition baseball mats. We have crypto stamps. There's a lot of things that can happen within the NFT space. Again, it's not just a PFP where you just talk about a nice picture. There's real use cases behind it. Tickets. I also advise a company. It's called Front Row. They are already listed in multiple big exchanges. They did a concert with BTS, and the concept is the same. They help people to book the tickets. They help people to make the tickets. They help to make the tickets into something that's collectible. This is what it is. It is already implemented in different places. So the current innovation or innovative use of NFTs, you can see that in galleries. You can see that in some of these artists showcases and so forth. Gallery, I think my friend which owned one of the biggest private gallery in Singapore called Art Now, they have been pushing a lot of NFT projects, and they are introducing many different young artists into their gallery to showcase some of these really nice looking NFTs art. Again, in the creative industry, we talk about this American rapper, It's a very straightforward thing. His music is on the new Sonic the Hedgehog, and then he decides to sell it and then receive royalties from it. So, as I mentioned, I'm chairman of BigONE. In some of our discussion recently, we talk about things that can try to drive fan base, So I'm not going to name that project, but the end obvious outcome during the conversation is that we see the value of NFT allowing unique things that can attach to many different forms of creativity. It can be music. It can be art. It can be many things. So do not restrict yourself just to what you know or what you think is easier to do. Try to talk to different people. You can talk to different VCs. You can talk to myself. We will tell you that there are crazy things that are going on, in the space. And NFTs is one of the bridging point for some of these projects to come together. So I left with about 5 minutes. I'm going a little bit faster. There are a lot of challenges. There's education problems. A lot of things that I talk about. Some of you might think that, well, it's easy to understand, but it's not so easy to integrate this into your service. So please find the good NFT companies or NFT studios to help you with this. There are also security issues. Well, if you use the right companies, all these things will be minimized. You need to do a lot of tests. You need to do a lot of adoption. You also need to look at the bigger picture, how the NFTs are going to bring you real revenue. I constantly see the kind of problems that comes together with projects who wants investments or projects who wants to get into the space. Well, they did very well with their whitelisting, for example, But the thing is, their revenue model is really bad. And this is one of the key things that retail investors or people who are trying to collect or buy into NFTs, you should really look at it. You should look at how and what are the revenue sources, And that will actually be one of the biggest impact if you look at this in a very long term. Not just what is the current floor price, what is the price traded, what kind of volume and so forth. It is not. You have to find out what kind of revenue model they have. And again, maybe I should add on to this. I always say this on Twitter. If there's any form of reflections or sale tax and so forth, those to me as a VC is not a form of revenue because it's not sustainable. You have to find real alternative sources to make that work. So the true impact of NFTs will gradually unfold in the upcoming years. I know some of the biggest brands are looking at NFTs and metaverses. It can be big brands like Rolexes, for example. They are doing that. And they are doing this in a very fast pace. And then there's a lot of time, for all of you to figure out what to do, what is the next step to do, and which vertical you are going into. Because NFTs can be on many different places. It can be integrated into many, many different types of business forms. And again, you don't measure your NFT's success by looking at just the price. And you are also not restricted to looking at places like OpenSea, for example, right? There's no need to just look at OpenSea. There are a lot of other very unique and product specialized platforms that you can look at. You can also look at very centralized exchanges as well, like Binance, for example. They are one of the more successful ones. And then you can look at Bybit, which is one of the core invest sponsor here. They have a very nice NFT marketplace as well. So look at the centralized ones. Try your very best to get hold of their target audience. And then you can mimic the same success that you can get, by working closely with them. So leaving with 2 minutes more, just sharing a bit more from an investment standpoint for NFTs. Many of my friends, they are crazy about, buying things like CryptoPunks. They are crazy about creating the next CryptoPunk, for example. Most of them are not that successful, to be real honest about it, because they do not have the kind of community that is backing them up, that will believe in their project. So if you are going after the NFT market, I think what you should really think about is to form a good community. A community that can stick with you through the good times and the bad times. And that is the key to success. Because if they are not going to ride through the wave with you, during the bear market, then who else is going to help you during this period of time? And one last thing is look for good partnerships. I'm not against looking for people beside you to form a partnership and come out with a press release, but there's no meaning to that. All right, look for good partners that can create values for NFTs. It can also help to create more value for them and also help to create more value for your community. So with that, I think this is the end of my presentation. Again, like I said, I'm not here to sell anything or represent any form of NFT project. Just hope to share more knowledge with you. You can find me on Twitter, and with my name in this kind of spelling, it's very easy to find me online. So thank you so much. Thank you.